Okay, great. So we're going to do a little yoga today, or I always put like yoga in quotes because I'm not like a yoga teacher. Um, but the whole thing here is we want to get a little bit more what's called parasympathetic. So when we're lifting, we're very sympathetic. It's kind of a fight or flight response. We want to kind of learn to calm down. We want to learn to relax a bit. It's going to help our sleep, help our recovery. And for me, I kind of have a hard time like meditating, just like kind of doing nothing. So by doing adding a little stretching and kind of focusing on my breathing, it gives me a little something to focus on and allows me to get in a little bit better of a flow state. So a couple of things that you'd like to focus on when you're doing this is focus on your breath. Try to focus on nasal breathing. So just breathing in and out through your nose. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. So I'm going to have to like kind of open my mouth just because I'm kind of teaching. But when I'm kind of doing this on my own, I try to like just really just focus on my breath. And that allows me to kind of I guess not focus on anything else by just focusing on just my breath. So that's kind of a really good tactic you could do, especially if you're finding yourself having trouble sleeping, if you're kind of anxious. All these can be really good tools to help get your heart rate down, allow you to focus a little bit and kind of get rid of some of the noise in your head, whether it's during these times or just any time. So you can kind of start out with just some breathing by itself, or I like to just kind of go right into like a hip flexor stretch, and then I kind of start off with this flow. And depending on what's tight or what's not tight, I might go into some auxiliary stretches depending on what I'm trying to accomplish for that particular day. So I always start off with this flow. So we're going to start off with our right knee on the ground, and our left leg is going to be up. If you have foam roller or just like you can use like a pillow, I'm trying to be like more practical here. You could also kind of use a pillow for balance. So I'm just trying to keep my ribs and pelvis stacked. Again, breathing in through my nose. And you could do time, or you could just do like, I'm going to hold each position for like 2 breaths or 3 breaths. You can kind of just make up whatever. So in the beginning, I would just say maybe 2 or 3 breaths. But when you're doing your breath, try to like get a full inhale. Hold it for a little bit, and then a full exhale. And notice how you didn't see my chest rise when I was breathing. Okay. So that was 1 breath. So obviously even 2 or 3 breaths you're going to be holding for, 10, 15, 20 seconds if you're doing a really good breath. Again, so if I'm breathing in for like a 5 count, holding for a 5 count, exhaling for a 5 count, somewhere in a 3 to 5 count range is a good place to start. If you don't have as good capacity with your breath, if you're more of a shallow breather, like you might only be able to do that's okay. That's a starting point, and you want to build to so as you get more advanced, you can even go from there. But I think 3 to 5 count is a good place to start. So we've been here for a bit, so we're going to move into the next position. Again, I could use the pillow or not. I'm just kind of giving some options for some of the bigger guys out there as well. So I can use the pillow for balance. So now I'm going to kind of go into more of an adductor biased position. So I'm going to keep my chest proud. And again, for more flexible people, you can get your palms, your fingertips, your knuckles, or your hands, or even your forearms to the floor. So like for me, like this is like a 3 out of 10 in discomfort level. So I'm just going to hang here. If you don't really feel much of a stretch at all, if you're like a 0 out of 10, then maybe you want to go a little bit further. You want to get your fingertips, your knuckles, or your palms to the ground. And, someone like some of the women, they may be able to get to their forearms to the ground. Now, I don't want to sacrifice position for range of motion. That's important as well. I want to try and keep my hips like headlights, always facing forward. So again, we're going to get that good breath in. And do 2 to 3 breaths in each position. So now I'm going to go into a hamstring position. So now I'm going to lengthen my knee. Try and pull my toe toward my shin. Yeah, I guess that's what we're going to do for now. Still working the camera angles. And I'm going to give you guys a different view once we go to the second position, but okay. So again, I'm trying to get my knee, flexing my quad a little bit, flexing my toes toward my shin. I'm a little bit twisted up here. I'm not like perfect. Great. Okay, now we're going to go into our external rotation position. So like a pigeon pose, as some might call it. So I want to try and get this angle here. And again, I could use the pillow. So I wanted to kind of show you that before I put the pillow over that. And then I can kind of come here. So it's a tall pigeon as opposed to a short pigeon. So this is going to be a good hip stretch. Also, if you have some lower back issues, sometimes just stretching the external rotators of the hip can help alleviate. Your piriformis muscle is an external rotator. It attaches to the low back, so a lot of times by doing any type of 90-90 type stretch, that can alleviate some low back tightness because of the attachment point. Now I'm going to go into a Shin Box position. So again, I could use the pillow or not. So again, the difference is now I'm not here. I'm here and I'm trying to get as square to the ground as possible. And if I want to, I can stack up this way to help myself get a little bit taller, or I could let my arms out like that. So again, I'm not doing this as a warm-up, so I'm just going to hang here. Try to nasal breathe only. Now we're going to go into like a hip flexor and a quad stretch. So you might be here, you might be here. You might be here. And then for really flexible people, they can do it without the pillow. So I'm going to squeeze my glutes. So I'm getting my shoulders stretched out, my quads, my ankles. You want to resist the urge to keep your shoulders forward in that position. Now we're going to go into a frog pose. Tactile frog, I think they call it. This is really good if you're a sumo deadlifter or a wide stance squatter. You want to try and get your hips close to the mat. And again, I'm going to show this when we do the second round. I'm going to go at a different angle. But I'm trying to keep my pelvis level, stretching my groin here. If you're a sumo deadlifter, it's probably a good idea to hang out in this position a few times a week after your workouts. I want to make sure I'm not arching my low back. So now I'm going to go through the other side. I'm going to talk a little bit less on this round, so it's a little bit more real time. And I'm going to try to give you guys a different angle. Just for the sake of time, I'll do like 2 breaths per position. So I'm just going through the sequence on the other leg. So that's a full sequence. That's the base one I like to do. If you want to do some like kind of resting poses. So I'm going to show you a couple other options that you could do. That'll help. All right, so we're going to come here. So a really good one for hips, low back. Child's pose, you can do close stance or wide stance. But I'm trying to breathe into my belly, push my belly into my quads here. If you're doing some warm-ups before bench press, this is a couple of good options as well. You could do some bench yoga. You could do a prone cobra. Or a sphinx. So again, cobra. Or sphinx. So just depends on the position of your hand. So right now I'm on my forearm, so I'm working more my upper back. And the cobra is going to work more the lower back. So those would be good before you bench, or if you just kind of work on your arch a little bit. I tend to get a little bit some extension-based low back pain, so I don't really do these a ton, but if you want to improve your arch or before bench session, it's a good idea. I tend to do a little bit more flexion bias stuff because that usually feels good for my low back personally. Because again, for powerlifting, we tend to just focus on kind of arching so much. All right, so now we're going to go into some drills to kind of help with lower back tightness. And we're going to do these against the wall. So I'm hoping you guys can see that okay. So I could, depending on my flexibility level, I could get further or closer to the wall and just hang out here for a bit. So I'm going to hang out here for a few breaths. So this is a supported waterfall. We're going to do one more. Oh, that felt really good, so I wanted to kind of stay there for a bit. So we're going to do one more. This is like a 90-90 breathing. This is a really good way to finish things. Just having your legs up. And you can do this also as if you're having some lower back tightness. So there's two ways I can do this: more restful or more forcefully. If I want to really be a little bit more aggressive with it, I can kind of drive my heels into this a little bit more, posteriorly tilt my pelvis. So I'm trying to roll it this way. So we're minimizing the arch in my back. And then I can reach and round. Breathe in. Forceful exhale. Breathe into the lower back. So this would be more of like a preparatory drill to get your diaphragm going. And especially if you have some lower back tightness, this is a really good thing to do on a daily basis, or lower back issues. Now, if I'm doing this more to just get parasympathetic and just relax, I could not go crazy with the, still try to keep the spine neutral, but I can just kind of more relax with my legs or relax with my arms. So we're just going to take a couple of closing breaths here. And we're going to breathe in for a 5 count, hold for a 5 count, exhale for a 5 count, hold for a 5 count. So breathe in. Exhale. Then we're going to repeat. Do a couple of breaths like that. 5, breathe in, hold, breathe out for 5, hold for 5, and just a box breath. In for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5, and repeat. I'm going to do one more. Full exhale. Full breath. A little bit more. Exhale fully. Oh. All right, I see we got the Volkswagen Beetles joining us. All right, so that was a little yoga session. I'm going to stop the recording now.